Well, hey there, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to the SPL, the last day of Phase 2, and yet still seemingly only 3 days before Masters. That's where things get wild to me. Summer Masters is just around the corner, but of course all of this phase, this year, and the SMITE Pro League is powered by Prime Gaming. That's right, the thing that you can use once a month to get maybe, say, a free Twitch sub, maybe some free games, some free in-game content. I know there's a SMITE skin, a Paladin skin out there now that updates every single month, and since today's the 31st, you could get in today, get July's content, swing on over to August tomorrow and grab some new stuff when it comes out right there. That comes along with all of the free shipping, videos, and more that you get with a typical Prime subscription. So if you're not a Prime member, you need to go ahead and join Prime Gaming now. And if you are, well, make sure you capitalize on it. There's a little crown up there you can click. It's going to give you a lot of goodies and a very quick amount of time. Most of the time you just have to link your accounts together where it's like, hey, yeah, this whatever insert game platform account and this. Have it all together, have it all in one place. So thanks to Prime Gaming for sponsoring and being the title sponsor specifically of the SPL this year. I got Mifflin on the desk with me. My name's Gore, and we're going to have a lot of fun today, Mifflin, because we are going to be looking at potential tied sets and things like that.
Potentially.
Is just because who knows what's going to happen here. And all of it, I think, depends on this first set. And honestly depends on the Tartarus Titans, but if this goes how I expect it to go, look, there's been nothing but 2-0s so far this week. We got 3 sets today. One of them's got to go longer, and for some reason, my bones are telling me it's this one.
Yeah, so for those of you not in the know, I got this information directly from PolarBearMike.
Big asterisk on the side.
Big asterisk. We got this from PBM, but I trust him. He's been around the league for a very long time. He has said, as standings are right now, if the Jade Dragons are capable of 2-0ing the Tartarus Titans, they should be able to force a head-to-head up against the Titans. Otherwise, all the Titans need to do to maintain 3rd seed is to win 1 game in this set. So, a lot of the onus belongs to the Dragons.
Yeah, I think almost all of the upset and change potential depends on this, right? Because if you look at win-loss immediately, Titans winning this, all of a sudden there's conversations with the Bolts and their win-loss. Then we get into plus minuses and head-to-heads and weird things like that. If they lose this one, and then they're both 8 and 6, then you get into weird things like plus minuses and head-to-head, all of the fun stuff there. And then the Warriors, a little lower down. I think there's a chance where, if the Dragons lose this, 7-7 Warriors, they find their win later today. Then we get into weird things like plus minuses and head-to-head. But again, all of this is contingent on those numbers changing in specific orders. And so that's where things, I think, are going to be incredibly fun. Mike had a full tweet about it. I don't know how much it is right, and I'll let people who
we got to let League Ops figure
I was going to say,
out.
I'll let someone who has all of the stuff in front of them figure that one out. But the good news is, or maybe not good news, at least the minimal news is that no matter what,
just the news,
for the Dragons, if they want to continue a push to try and do anything, they need to win. And so that's their first and foremost goal here. And of course, you can see they've been doing pretty well. I think we've talked to damn near everybody on the squad since they picked up Scream, except maybe PandaCat. I think we did pregame with PandaCat yesterday, except for Pegon. And the good news is we're going to be talking about Pegon. Now, he's been mentioned a lot, Mifflin, by every other teammate because, you ask the duo lane, they're like, yeah, we played with Scream in the past. It's super fun. You ask fineokay, and he's like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of surprising. We've never competed together, but we're meshing really well. And Mike had said that the only thing that they were maybe concerned about was going to be the mesh between the mid and the jungle. Doesn't seem like there's been any problems. And I think that this powerhouse that they've been able to kind of illustrate over the last couple of days has just reassured Dragons fans that even in the 2v2, things are fine.
Yeah, Pegon, I mean, in general, I feel like he's going to be a generally plug-and-play mid laner. He's got very aggressive styling, will be able to hold his own in the majority of these lanes. Worth noting that this is his rookie year, and he's been looking like anything but a rookie.
That's easy to forget.
Yeah, it's easy to forget because, I don't know, he soloed Ven 5 times that one time. He's been having some pretty nasty performances. At times has been trend-setting with things that are allowed to be played in mid. Who else is locking in the Susano? Who else is going to go towards the Gilgamesh in mid? I don't think anybody else is doing those things, but Pegon very capable.
Maybe BDQ, but
maybe.
Then it just runs in the family at that point.
I suppose so. It could. I don't know. I don't see Benny playing those. Benny strikes me as a Terra player. Well, leave him alone. We're talking about Pegon, and Pegon has had no shortage of success so far. Yes. I have got no concerns for his career, man. This guy has been looking very impressive.
Yeah, and this week it's been, I want to say, relatively easy. Like, I mean, you saw the highlights. Most of those were from this week. Discordia, 2 games on Friday. Guess what? They win 2. Yesterday, Yu Huang, 2 games. They win 2. So either today's a third mage, and those 2 are getting banned out, because I think the Discordia was banned out, or it's just more of the same. And maybe a little bland overall compared to some of the more eclectic picks we have seen from Pegon. But it's still fun to watch because it's been successful for the Dragons. It's been a tear for them, and we've got Pegon already standing by and ready for an interview. And so I'll ask the question that's kind of been alluded to by some of your teammates. How's things going between like you and Scream for that 2v2?
I think it's been pretty good. You know, obviously we won these games, so we're feeling pretty good.
You haven't had to like butt heads yet
into
anything.
Not yet.
And so that's the interesting thing. I know, you know, Mike can be pretty vocal. And I think what we had heard and what they had said was like everybody on the team usually gets their voice in there, but like you have some people that stand out. And we know that Scream can get really vocal. Is that like, has there been any, I guess, comm issues, or are you perfectly vibing with it?
No, not really. I think Comm's been a lot better actually. Scream's, you know, he's a big leader in game, helps with Mike, and then yeah, it just makes games easier.
Well, I know you guys are going forward. You know, you're trying to your best here, specifically against this match, like need a 2-0, things like that, trying to find as many wins as you can. After the way this week has gone, it seems like you're just on a pattern, but the Titans definitely going to be the roughest opponent. What do you expect in this matchup?
We're feeling good. 2-0. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, you got confidence, man, and that's all that matters. Sounds good. I'm excited to watch it. I'm sure the fans are at home. So thanks for your time, man, and good luck in your games. Feeling good? 2-0, Mifflin. Sometimes that's all you need.
Keeping it close to the chest, too.
Yeah, and I like that because it's not like, oh, yeah, you know, if we deal with blank, blank, or blank on the other team, like, we'll do fine. And I think that's actually interesting because when I look at this one, I think this 2v2 is maybe the most intriguing because I think the last couple of days what we've seen is Scream kind of listing towards the right-hand side of the map, helping out fineokay a lot of pressure that's been coming from the solo lane. And the Titans used to play exclusively through their mid lane. I mean, like, if you looked at this squad, there's 5 really good players in that booth. And we would talk about the guy in the middle every time because he had amazing plays, really good setup, awesome KDA, really good damage. Like, every single game he was consistent. It feels like they've pulled back from Paul being the catalyst so far right now, and he has become that facilitator. You know, if he's playing something like the Yu Huang, he might have a great KDA in there, but it's not necessarily just forcing him specifically to have all of the plays, all of the kills, and be the spearhead for the team.
Yeah, so at times Paul in the past had acted as that solo agent, like, hey, if I'm having a good game, we're just going to win, and that's our win condition. Recently, the Tartarus Titans have become more so a 5-headed beast. Just anybody on the team could have just a phenomenal performance and absolutely dominate a match. That's not to take away from Paul. I think he has still had very impressive individual performances, but I think there is something worth noting in this matchup in particular. Paul up against Pegon. There's a bit of parity in their careers. When Paul was new to the league, he was that guy getting super aggressive. He was that guy who was playing all sorts of crazy picks that nobody else was playing.
Yeah.
He was capable of going towards just about anything in that Hunter column, anything in that Mage column. Recently, Paul has honed it in a little bit more. He's got himself a much more standard god pool. We'll see things like the Hell more often, the Morrigan very, very standard for him, at times the Chernobog as well.
Yeah.
But he's really straight away from, hey, I'm gonna play like the Onhers mid. I'm gonna play my Uul mid. I'm gonna be running Hebo every game, and instead has really built himself into a part of this team instead of forcing the team to conform to his style. And at times it has looked very good for the Tartarus Titans, but as a Paul fan, and I've been playing with and against and watching Paul for so many years, I kind of miss seeing him getting on those wild picks and having these crazy performances.
I think that's part of why I like watching him play the Morgan, though, because it's like then at least like once every, like 3 minutes, theoretically, if he was popping it on cooldown, he just gets to be someone else for a little bit. And yeah, when they were playing with the Lancelot the other day up against the Bolts, they did so. And that's where things get really interesting. It's 4-0 so far this week for the Dragons, which normally, regular week of SBL, no rescheduled matches, they'd probably just be done. So coming in for a triple header, they've got technically a lot of warm-ups coming into this, but also the Titans come in. they take down the Bolts like quickly on Friday, and that was very impressive from them to be able to pick it up. You know, it's your second seed and things like that, and the Bolts having an 0-4 week, it was I think impressive for them. Well, impressive in the wrong way for them. And so you've got to imagine that this team's feeling pretty solid about it. And a lot of it, like I see 2 the Morrigan games, 1 they stole Lancelot from the other side, 1 they kept it. I have to imagine maybe he rises in terms of priority here.
Yeah, I'd seen a lot of discussion from the SMITE community as a whole. Lancelot not looking super impressive, and then other guys are saying Lancelot is absolutely dominating. I think Lancelot is solid in the meta right now. Until we see some adjustments to some of his numbers, I think he's probably going to be a mainstay. Just that damage output so high. But the issue with Lancelot, and we had touched on this lightly yesterday, is the fact that his dive goes so far into the back line. It is very hard for a team to keep up with their own Lancelot. So very often, and we'd seen it from the Oni Warriors pretty consistently, Lancelot would ult in. He's 100 feet away from his nearest ally. He does his damage, doesn't have quite enough to finish off his kill, and then he just immediately falls down, which is why I liked what we had seen from the Tartarus Titans. And I don't think it's necessary. You don't need the Morrigan plus Lancelot.
Yeah.
Just draft something that can match that rotation. Chernobog can do it.
Yep.
Anybody who could just get into that back line consistently. Ardio's capable of it as well. When you have a Lancelot on your team, I think it might almost just legitimately dictate that you build a composition that is capable of diving, a spearhead style draft. Unless you're Variety and you're taking it in the soul lane. If you're tanky, you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah, he looked absolutely... I mean, he looked so good on that yesterday in game number 2. It was fun to watch. It's always fun to watch these 2 teams, especially the new reinvigorated Dragons, whether you want to call it a honeymoon phase or what. I mean, at this rate, and this is actually a weird conversation to have, because in theory, it's the perfect time for the honeymoon phase to exist, because they're getting it in week 8 here, and then Masters starts up. And then you have, like, a few weeks while of downtime before phase 3 kicks off. And so, like, you're in this spot where, admittedly, you're not going to be, like, losing SPL games. Well, there's no SPL, so maybe they won't get to, like, points of contention. But, like, scrims and things, practice will still be happening. And so maybe it can, like, wear off and they can settle into a groove behind the scenes. And then when they come back for phase 3, it'll be like they never left her, and it's something like that. It's also interesting to see, again, the Titans, just as a squad, things have been going incredibly well for them. Again, you know, I think for a long time it was easy to talk about Paul. CycloneSpin, though, has really caught my eye over the last couple of weeks because...
He got off the Warriors.
Yeah, he changed. They changed putting 2 tanks in the left side, and all of a sudden he was able to step up. And they've even been able to do it with Sot still going back to things like the Uller. Like, Sot still being able to play a little weird. So it feels like they found their versatility and still gave themselves carry potential in the late game.
Yeah, I really like the Tartarus Titans. Explicitly when CycloneSpin's playing a Hunter, that's not to say that he's not capable of playing those Warriors.
Yeah.
He absolutely is. He was dominating those lanes. It just really hurt their compositions, I would argue. But I think you hit the nail on the head. We had talked about, you know, Paul used to be the star, and now all of a sudden he's kind of just faded into just part of the Tartarus Titans at times, looking like that star again. But SOT and CycloneSpin, the side laners for the Tartarus Titans, I think have really been stepping up so far this season. I've made no qualms sharing that I think that SOT is potentially just the most mechanical player of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, watch his Ull highlights, man. This guy is hitting ridiculous skill shots, weaving in his auto attacks, never missing them. When you watch him play the Hercules, I don't think he misses pulls.
Cue up the MLG montage.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Just cue it up. I mean, it feels like every time we watch SOT, it might as well just be a montage. And when CycloneSpin is playing Hunters, he's playing at that exact same level as well. The Tartarus Titans are a massive threat to the league as long as they're all playing at their highest level. Consistency, of course, a buzzword that we throw around a whole lot, and that's the conversation. When are you hitting your peaks? Are you able to maintain them? How long are you maintaining them? I'd argue we've seen the peak of the Tartarus Titans twice, maybe 3 times this year in individual sets. If they could find a way to just harness that and bring it every single time, I'm not sure who's taking out this team, barring just the absolute cream of the crop in the league.
We're finally in picks and bans, though. Game number 1, Titans are the first pick. And you know, so far, for the Dragons on the other side, I'll just cover this. It's the E-Set, the Morrigan that get banned out. Nothing too crazy. Both, you know, Paul-oriented picks, and it makes sense to try and take care of them. And when you look at other things like the Osiris, the Erlang Shin, even the I was going to say the E set, but that's already up there, so I guess that doesn't make sense to add onto the list. I said Osiris and
already?
Chat,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, now we're just cycling. Oh, no.
Hold on, we'll find one.
We're caught in a tornado. Those are like the three most top banned,
Yamoja.
at least this week against them. Yamoja, that's a good one.
I just looked at the first
top
top SPL ban.
Yeah, that's a really good way to try and find it. I almost said Daji, and I'm like, I don't like. I mean, yeah, Layers is gonna have a good Daji, but I'm not thinking of Layers when it comes to the Daji. The other side, though, the question was, when will someone finally stop Panda from getting this Cupid? You go back to game 1 on Friday, played Artemis into the Cupid, so was willing to do it. But since then, it's just been 3 in a row, and it looked really good. Titans banned that first, and then they took 2 shots at Scream. They get rid of the Pele, they get rid of the Naja, and they lock themselves in the Chernobog.
Yeah, and that is just what Scream brings, isn't it? Just, hey, you're going to have to ban some weird stuff when you're playing against Scream. And he's still got things like the Bans.Stat in the back pocket, but that's not to say that he isn't capable of playing the incredibly standard selections as well. Gotta think that Nemesis is headed for Scream, and is that really a win for the Tartarus Titans in the ban phase? Oh no, Scream's on Nemesis now. That's just a standard meta selection, and with some of the itemization changes, I think will fit his style very, very well. We've been seeing the Golden Blade immediately into heavy executioner style of build, auto-attacking for upwards of 200 the second you finish your secondary item. That's a crazy amount. Generally, people have about 1,500 to 1,600 HP at that portion of the game, meaning that you only need to land like 8 autos, and with auto cancels, you're doing those pretty consistently.
Yeah.
So I think the Jade Dragons just fine getting that Nemesis for themselves. The Tartarus Titans, on the other hand, have got themselves a composition that is very capable of playing around that Lancelot. I talked about the Chernobog and how he's able to match that dive potential on his own. Cabrakan should be right there with you, or even at times, use that Cabrakan wall against your own Lancelot. It's not a bad thing. You can stop the charge of that ultimate. Again, you can't cancel your own ultimate. You have to fully channel it. You have to get all the way to the apex of that dash. If a Cabrakan walls somebody in with you, ult into that wall, you're already stuck with them. Might make it a little bit easier to execute on some of those dives. So I really do like this Titans core 3. But that's not to say that the Dragons are any slouch either. I mean, Capri, I don't need to sing its praises. Everybody knows how annoying it is to play against someone who's got death immunity for anybody on his team. Also some very strong single target setup. And fineokay's King Arthur has just continued to impress since he's been going back towards it.
Makes them mayhem.
And this will be game number 5, I think, in a row for fineokay's King Arthur, which is just wild to think. Because I even mentioned it. I was joking about it yesterday, but it was something that PBM had said during his long stream when talking about Scream and the pickup, was that he was like, it's just one thing that like Sam at the time and that fineokay don't particularly enjoy playing the same god 2 times in a row when it comes down to scrims, and obviously if you watch their streams,
I get that, true. By the way.
Yeah, I understand it. I do the same thing in support. I think I've gone through that Guardian tab like 12 plus. Well, it's got to be way more than that, right? Because I've played a lot of support.
And you play like 5 characters.
No, that's not true. I play all of them.
Every time I play with you, it's either Geb, Kepri, or Ymir.
Yeah, I restart the list. So like it's like, but like if watch. Last time I did a SMITE game stream, that 3-hour block, I went through almost every single Guardian.
That's crazy because my games go like 40 minutes each, and your blocks are 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you're getting that many matches in.
Well, sometimes you just, look, man, sometimes you got to surrender when you know things are going down.
I try!
Yeah, well, luckily, I pull people in with me. I bring the homies to make sure we can get
that's the difference.
Either way, Discordia is locked in here for the mid lane. Hou-Yi is the final selection for the Dragons, which is someone we have not seen in a hot minute, 1, and 2, a lot so far this phase. He wasn't doing as bad this year. I will give him the credit. Last year, Hou-Yi was like a lock-in that people were making, and it felt bad every single time.
Well, the win rate felt bad.
Yeah.
I feel like Hou-Yi was always at least performing in the lane, right? Like, he's got a whole lot of solo potential.
And, like, he was the main consistent factor across all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against the literal empirical data of last year. Hou-Yi had like a 10% win rate with like 20 games played.
Yeah, it was
but he did look good in all those individual matches. I'm sure anecdotal evidence is as it is. But into this composition from the Tartarus Titans, Hou-Yi's got decent matchup into the Chernobog. Unlikely that it is going to be playing against the Chernobog. More likely it will be the Olarun over towards that duo lane. Pre-5, whole lot of solo potential up against Olarun. You can find the knockback with the dive bomb, so it really makes it impossible for Olarun to use his own knock-up as self-peel in those situations. Once you take over to level 5, of course, Sanctified Field, very hard to deal with, even for a Hou-Yi. But before that, maybe a little bit of action over in that duo lane, and he should definitely be able to hold his own. There's not really any solo potential for Oleron into Hou-Yi himself, unless the Hou-Yi is getting over aggressive, right? Dive bomb into a sanctified field. I can't help you from there. Probably shouldn't have just done it.
Well, this one's going to be fun just to watch, again, the Hou-Yi and maybe where he can find his pressure. But like you mentioned, the Oleron, the Atlas get locked in here. And the Atlas is the interesting one because that has been sought playing it over the last couple of times. I think Trelly was mentioning it. He's on the cast, so we'll probably get to hear the story again about how he was on the receiving end.
Yeah, I heard he got like
Sot's
super
Atlas
owned. Yeah,
in the SPL.
like he got bodied like really hard.
Yeah, and
SOT was like kind of talking about how it was like embarrassing that
I think,
Trelly
and
was playing
if I
at that
remember,
level.
it was actually twice in a row on 2 different gods as well.
That's right.
I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, SOT was trying to remove Trelly from the big boy queues. And I think he did.
I was going to say, it sounded like it was a little successful, at least in terms of winning. Maybe Trelly was still queuing for it, but I don't know.
He was trying, for sure.
Maybe that's what, because I tuned in, he
that
was still
third
playing.
game, he didn't get into their match.
I tuned in, he's playing duel, so maybe that's what, he just decided to skip
My
the
man
conquest
vacated the whole game mode. He switched up his whole style.
Either way, it's been fun to watch that because it's different. I mean, right? Like one of the whole things when Atlas was coming out was I can't even remember who it was on Patch Notes saying, like, you know what? A lot of the scaling, a lot of the numbers, a lot of what's going on here was to not put him in solo lane. But he's in solo lane anyway. We'll see if SoloOrTroll, maybe. We'll see if Sot, maybe piloting him, can make it work here in game number 1.
Thank you so much, Gore and Myth. As we jump into game 1 with the Tartarus Titans, it's J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug to bring the action. It will be another solo lane Atlas brought to you by SOT of the Tartarus Titans. And not something that we haven't seen before. This is something that SOT played previously for his team up against earlier on, and something that you've also had experience playing against Trelly.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I said, and I quote, he farmed my team. He did not farm me. We all lost as a collective, as a unit, but he was in solo. I didn't have to see him until 20 minutes. I was mid. And Myth's lucky that my mic was muted because he couldn't dream his way into those big boy queues.
Don't worry, neither could I.
Myth sits in the baby games, and at least I'm getting farmed by SOT. He can't even queue with him.
Let's go ahead and just jump into the action of this game now. Tartarus Titans Layers bringing out the Lancelot, something that's had mixed success so far, Charlie, on his debut here in the SPL. First week that we've gotten to see him play, I think he's sitting right around that 50% win, 50% loss rate, maybe one more win kind of thrown in there after we saw him in the solo lane from Variety earlier on. I mean, how do you kind of feel about Lancelot in the jungle compared to what we saw from him in the solo?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the solo Lancelot. I think the Glad Shield build just works so well because he has so many abilities to cycle. But the jungle Lancelot, I didn't have too much faith in the success until I saw what the Tartarus Titans did with Paul on the Morrigan and Layers on Lancelot. The double Lancelot combo, that looked a little ridiculous and a little bit hard to stop. So when you do have some backup, it's pretty nice. As we see just a little bit of early aggression from Scream. Amazing that he was able to get this Nemesis.
SOT is getting dangerously low, picks up fineokay, and just jukes out that overhead slash. So SOT will be fine. There's a fight over the Totem of Ku. Meanwhile, between the junglers, the Tartarus Titans able to come out on top there. SOT probably not happy about having to go back to base and teleport in this early in the game. In fact, his back got stopped for just a moment. But the Desk is talking about maybe this Oleron going up against PandaCat in the duo lane, but it's actually Paul piloting this one in the mid for the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah, the Oleron with the Mannequin Scepter in mid lane and a shell, so no form of CC immunity in this early. Up against a pick like Discordia, there could be a lot of burst damage coming Paul's way, but he's looking across at Scream, who's on this Nemesis with a blink. I mean, Sanctified Field is going to shut down that gank 9 times out of 10. As long as Pegon's not the one who's connecting all of this burst damage with the Golden Apple and the Stripe, just so much burst damage coming from that pick, I don't think the Nemesis is going to have an easy time getting to this Oleron. So that's probably why Paul has itemized this way. And, you know, putting this pick in the mid lane, you can essentially cover all of mid lane with Sanctified Fields, and it's a great 3v3 tool. So once Aror rotates in, Layers rotates in, I just realized you could put the Lancelot ult on top of Sanctified Field, and you just have a no-play zone, and that's going to be a fun time to see.
Oh yeah, you have the cripple field inside of the you're already slowed down and can't move very fast field to begin with. Man, all they needed was a Cupid to make that the ultimate no-play zone there. Throwing even more gnarly slow out there, but for now, Tartarus Titans, at least in the duo lane, even pressure between those two. For Scream and Layers here, you know, what's kind of their avenue to get this game started? I mean, we saw early aggression in the solo lane from fineokay to put SOT down. Do you think that Scream maybe tries to keep up that pressure and get fineokay ahead?
I definitely think it could be an option. Up against SOT, there's a fair bit of gank potential with this Atlas. I mean, with the teleport available, you don't have any sort of CC immunity there. So if Scream and fineokay can land some of that CC, mostly fineokay. Scream's just going to have some slows, but fineokay does have a bit to try and keep this Atlas at bay. I could see Scream try to get active over here in this lane. It really just depends on if SOT steps up. You'll notice he's underneath the tower, and I don't think he'll be coming out from underneath that tower because of the aggression that we've already seen from Scream on this side of the map. SOT, a smart player. He knows the strengths of this pick. Atlas doesn't clear the wave too well in the early. You need some points into your abilities, and some cooldown would help him as well. So once that Breastplate of Valor gets finished, maybe some aggression. But at the moment, yeah, Scream's going to have to dive pretty far if he wants to get aggressive onto that Atlas.
I'm actually curious what SOT's level priority is on the solo Atlas compared to support. He actually is putting points into the first ability compared to what we normally see. Usually that dash when the support role is the lane, at least for this guy, is typically where we see those points allocated. So SOT focusing on the long range clear a little bit more so than the initial burst from the dash.
Yeah, I think in duo clears everything, right? You're trying to get pressure, you're trying to get active as much as you can. fineokay, no way he's going to be able to fall here.
Oh. Dismount off the horse goes Layers, and onto the second horse again, throws it away and needs one more hit, and Layers will find it, but he will trade his life out under the tower. fineokay gets at least the one hit necessary to make it a 1-for-1, but it's first blood to the Tartarus Titans.
Yeah, fineokay's able to get the revenge kill and teleport back in, but the first blood going towards Layers. I really doubted the amount of DPS they had, but SOT delivered as well. I thought it was just going to be, you know, SOT picks him up, Layers does the whole kit, and then they sort of just looked at him, but just enough to dive that tower. Of course, Layers lost his life in the process, but was able to finish that Crusher and get extremely active on the Lancelot.
Paul finds the knockback, Sanctified Field will at least slow things down, and with 3 people chasing him out, and just barely juking away from the root on PBM, Paul will get away from a pretty nasty gank this way. Scream goes back and finds Slice Dice. Paul low and modifies another knockback. The Scare's Blessing from PBM will keep him and Scream back alive. And with the walls just off the mark by Aror, the Jade Dragons and the Titans come up empty-handed.
Yeah, that could have been a double kill if that was able to hit. As fineokay seemed to try and rotate in, but actually could be in some trouble if the chase ensues. I think Aror and Layers are both more interested in the greater Scorpion invade, so I don't think fineokay will be under any more chase as this continues. Since the blue buff's down as well, no more action on that right side of the map, but that's kind of what I expected, right? Paul has the Sanctified Field, Scream goes in. Even Pegon was able to hit the full brunt of his kit, but just the shell and the slow motion was enough to deter that gank. Some regank opportunity there, but a good Scarab's Blessing by PBM, make sure that no more kills drop. But now the shell's down, and Sanctified Field, one of the longest cooldowns in the game, is also down. So maybe some more regank potential once that golden apple comes back up and Scream gets access to the ultimate. Paul's going to have to sit a little bit further back in that lane.
Definitely need to play a little bit more passively, though. The fact that he got ganked by 3 people and then walked back in again with 3 people still in the lane and then was almost willing to chase fineokay with basically no mana shows that Paul probably doesn't have too much fear on the solo run for just about anything that the Jade Dragons can do. Does finish up his Ring of Akate on a return to base there, so that's his first real power spike coming into play. For a moment, thought maybe fineokay and Scream were going to try and bait someone into the jungle, but with no camps up on that side of the map, there's no reason for Layers to need to go through his jungle.
Yeah, it did seem like they wanted to set up an ambush there. Layers finally walks past the ward, but they would have been setting up camp for quite some time trying to find Lancelot on the horse, and the speed buff is just now spawning back in, so it wouldn't have been the greatest opportunity. You know, PandaCat's been one not to shy away from these 1v1 style picks, the On-Hers, the Ho-Yis, things like that, but it just doesn't have that 1v1 potential when CycloneSpin sits underneath that tower. I mean, there are plenty of double bounce opportunities to start a fight, but besides that, I think a smart player in CycloneSpin is not going to step out of the tower too far, give you that much value with the stuns, try and hit a stun. You know, there's just so much safety in this Chernobog pick, hiding in the walls, things like that. You can tell PandaCat's like, come on, man, fight me, step out of that tower. And it's just not going to happen. There's no action on that left side of the map.
I like with what Aror is doing on this Cabrakan. We see this a couple of times when you see these kinds of Khepri matchups with this god, is pop that first ability as soon as you see the Khepri land that root or kind of walk around the corner, kind of almost begging him to pluck you. You know, come on, grab me. I dare you. I'll stop it right in its tracks. So at least for now, PBM will not go with that. But One thing, now I know I saw it on Twitter, PBM tweeted it out, I saw even Genetics making a note about it, is this new support start that we've been seeing, which is the Mail of Renewal, the Benevolence, and then a Meditation right out the gate. That is just an insane amount of healing coming from the support more than anything else.
Yeah, and the upgrade immediately getting the extra cooldown resets. So you're just getting a ton of value from this meditation and the healing. It does mean, I just said that you weren't gonna 1v1 each other, man. Cyclone, what are you doing? I told you, don't step out of the tower. That's what Hou Yi wants.
He's 1v1ing him, and he's losing. Solo kill over to PandaCat for the Jade Dragons to get themselves back out of the, I can't even really say a rut, because the game has been going in favor now, the Jade Dragons. Despite that first blood that went to the Titans that gave them a nice little early boost of gold, the Jade Dragons have just been farming a little bit better. 800 gold up for the Dragons with only 1 extra kill to their name, and maybe a little bit more of a fight as Screammmmm layers meet each other in the jungle. Not going to have anything just yet. Maybe setting up for a 3v3 in mid, or just a 1v2 as Pegon's in danger. Will jump through with the wall from Aror, will catch him out of Sanctified Field, locks in Pegon, but the beads and the Golden Apple after will deter the fight. Pegon should be fine, unless something crazy from SOT can come through from around the corner, picks up PBM, throws him through with no revive left. PBM is as good as dead.
Yeah, too much damage put into Pegon to not grab that kill, and the regank potential from the Tartarus Titans was massive. SOT makes the rotation in, and they're able to pick up that kill onto the Kepper. You got a lot of healing, but that's what I was about to say. There's a lot of healing, but there's not enough protections there. I mean, you can't live through that much damage when you're surrounded by 4, and now fineokay surrounded by 3.
Picked up against the wall. Layers will also use his ultimate. A slowdown from SOT good, but not enough follow-up damage to kill the solo laner of the Dragon. Scream walking in might not be the best idea, because he gets picked up and thrown against 3 again. SOT on this Atlas has just become a menace for the Titans.
It's just incredible. SOT's playstyle can differ so much. He can go from a hard carry on Ullr to building full tank Atlas 003, 3 assists for all 3 kills on the map, just picking up for the team. It's just such a varying playstyle. And Pyromancer spawns in about 3 seconds, and immediately the Gamma Ray burst is channeled, and immediately that Pyromancer is looking to go down.
Pyromancer will go to the Tartarus Titans. The Dragons, though, will start pushing up this Trebuchet in the mid lane. Might not get too much action unless PBM and Pegon are willing to kind of puppy guard this one for a while and not allow Paul to fire his abilities out there. But now with that solo kill that Panda got earlier on, maybe we can see if we can take a look back at that solo kill as well, just to kind of see how it even happened. Because, I mean, it's a 1-level lead that's up for PandaCat at this point, and we do get a nice little... Okay, so they weren't even 1v1ing in the lane. PandaCat just found him in the jungle. Oh, that was... Okay, you can't get mad at Cyclone for just getting Ricochet diffed.
I mean, I saw that his beads were still up at the end of it, so he could have put some respect on that bounce pre-beads and dashed away, but he's like, you don't have those, Panda, and Panda's like, I don't miss, man, and that was the unfortunate series of events that led to Cyclone dying right as I said. Cyclone's a smart player. He's not going to step out against a Hou Yi, and you are right to say it wasn't a brawl. It wasn't like Cyclone was looking to fight and, you know, unfortunately just lost. He was just walking the lane, a little bit of a war difference possibly, or PandaCat just had the map awareness to know, hey, you're going to be walking up here soon, and I'm just going to wait for that double bounce. So great play there, and now Scream's even sitting over in duo lane, more so looking at the Oracles, looking at the Gold Fury possibly, just trying to get some ward vision down, because the Tartarus Titans have had a ton of control on the right side of the map, that Pyromancer. I don't think the Jade Dragons want to let this left side objective slip through their fingers.
Well, we did look back at the solo kill that happened a few moments ago. Tier 1 and mid tower did go down, so a nice little bit of guarding around that Trebuchet does net the Jade Dragon some extra gold in pocket and a little bit of extra advantage over the Titans mid laner. But as far as XP and gold are concerned, we are sitting dead even at this point for 12 minutes in the game, a 3-2 on the kill column. Even despite a lead being in one lane, you can see even though PandaCat has that advantage over CycloneSpin, SOT in the solo lane is able to mitigate that one on the Atlas. Even going for a little bit more physical defense in the build, a Jade Emperor's Crown, the next item up for the solo laner of the Titans.
Yeah, the Tartarus Titans have built a lot of these physical aura items with the Jade Emperor's Crown and the Sovereignty. That's just going to mean all of the physical damage dealers of the Jade Dragons, they're going to have a worse time. I mean, the Screammmmm fineokay, that 2v2, as long as Aror and SOT are grouped up, they're just going to be significantly weaker. Not too much power built as is already. It's only 12 minutes into the game, so you are getting a ton of value from that item. As the game, you know, moves on, you will get less and less value. That's just how power works, but You know, at the moment, it just means that the Guardians of the Tartarus Titans grouping up just benefits them so much. With that teleport already down, I don't imagine any sort of Gold Fury pulls for the Titans specifically. And it looks like fineokay matched that teleport timer pretty much so. No real avenues to look for that left side objective. Probably just going back to the old farm game. And you got to take a look at the builds in a situation like this where pretty much everyone and their counterparts is hitting that level 12 mark where you can see second relics be built. Paul just ticks over, hasn't been able to back just yet, and Pegon hasn't either. But Layers is the big difference at the moment, where Scream is 0-1, hasn't been able to hit level 12, doesn't have access to the beads. Lancelot, he's got the blink, he's got the beads, and he's sitting just fine.
And has picked up his second full item and then a tier 2 in towards the Hydra's Lament as well. So Layers has already got a nice little power spike for himself. The Oracle Harpies will go over to the Jade Dragons, so no sneaky pulls of the Gold Fury by the Titans, but maybe they won't need to be sneaky if they can find a pick onto just one member of the Dragons. Someone who steps a little too far forward. PandaCat, I wouldn't say step too far up. He's at his tier 1 tower line, but maybe it's Aror who's a little too far up now himself. PolarBearMike knocked back by Layers. The Tartarus Titans will back away, but they've got all 5 players on this left side of the map.
Yeah, SOT made that rotation over, and finally fineokay has joined the party as well. PBM was forced to pop the med, but kept Scarab's Blessing online, so that's still going to be a tool that the Tartarus Titans have to play around. Given the positioning of everyone on this map, it doesn't look like an immediate Gold Fury pull is going to be the option. Heading back over to solo lane is fineokay, so it looks like no one really thinking that the Gold Fury is under any more stress. Getting PandaCat's beads, I think, was the big win there, as well as, you know, PBM's med can't be the smallest win that you could hope for, but getting the beads down on Hou-Yi does open up some opportunity for the fight on the left side of the map where that Gold Fury is located.
SOT has rotated his way back over. We'll start this one up. Vision is there for the Dragons. They know that this Gold Fury is happening, but there's no one there to respond because 2 of them had gone back to base and PandaCat was stuck dealing with a wave. The Tartarus Titans, under the vision of the Oracles, will take the Gold Fury away and will now at least finally put themselves back in the lead after they've been in a deficit this whole time.
Yeah, that was one of those situations where PandaCat was looking over a goal and he's like, yeah, maybe I'll step up and go for, it's dead. It's dead. Just don't come over, guys, it's done. Don't worry about it. I can see it. I watched it happen, but there was just no way that we were matching that DPS or that rotation speed. What the Jade Dragons can do, however, is try to pull this Pyromancer. SOT and Layers are close, but looks like not close enough to hear it. Finally, SOT might be onto something, but fineokay's on zone duty.
fineokay will smack him. No ultimate from SOT to try and get a ranged steal. But SOT instead will just kind of gently pick up fineokay, toss him back away, and say, you know what? You guys can have this Pyromancer. There's not a whole lot that I can do about it. And SOT even going towards a little bit more of a Bruiser-esque style of build. We saw the Jade Emperor's Crown already built up. I'm not sure. Do you think this is going to be going into a Void Stone or maybe a Stone of Binding early on?
I think it's a little bit late for the Stone of Binding, but you still could get some value. There is a ton of CC that SOT has, but probably the Void Stone just for some extra damage. And then maybe even an E-Staff after the fact. That's usually where SOT likes to go with this style of Atlas play because it does a ton of damage and it also makes you super effective in those fights.
CycloneSpin. Ultimate still got caught on the edge of the Suns. He'll dive back in to fight PandaCat, question mark? Well, back to the rest of the fight happening. Paul gets hit by the Golden Apple. That one drops him down to about 30% health, and he is stuck on the wrong side of the walls. There are 4 Jade Dragons there, and it's PandaCat to pick up the double kill for the Dragons. And maybe one more, but Aror able to get his blink out in time to get away from the onslaught ensuing.
I mean, PandaCat is going absolutely massive for his team. 3-0 is this Hou-Yi. CycloneSpin holds on to both relics. Once again, had the shell and the beads, decided to use neither of them. Either A, just thought he was dead, which is certainly a possibility, or B, was hoping that PandaCat misses. And unfortunately for him, this game PandaCat is not missing, as he consistently just taunts the lane and everyone on the side of the Tartarus Titans. He's 3-0, he's got Xe, he's got Kins, I assume he's got some gold in pocket. Yeah, about 2K as well. So this build is going to be just keep climbing for the Jade Dragons. He's even clapping. Look how hyped he is. That's scary. If you look on the opposition and you see how hyped the 3-0 Hou-Yi is, it looks like he's heading for Fire Giant.
Yeah, if I stood up to stretch and I looked across and saw that, I might be a little terrified myself. The Jade Dragons on a tear. They find 2 picks in the left side, take away a tier 2 at just 17 minutes under, And now heading immediately to the Fire Giant. PBM will pull that one to start it up. And what's the answer from the Tartarus Titans? I'm not sure they even understand that this is happening right now. Nobody has rotated in. It's going to be a roar from the top side of the pit, but by the time he gets there, it may already be too little, too late. The Jade Dragons get the Fire Giant. The Layers are trying to find the pick onto Scream. Revive comes through just in time from PBM, and Pegon will take down Aror. SOT in the middle of 5, gets stunned out of his dash for PandaCat to pick him up.
I mean, what a beautiful stun there by fineokay to make sure that that kill goes down. The Fire Giant burn was clean, the confirm was there, and now the Tartarus Titans are they have to back up. There's nothing they can really do. The Jade Dragons are able to push. They can get some answer back in the mid lane where fineokay can stop that tier 2 from going down, but the Jade Dragons, off the back of this 4-0 Hou Yi that has no stop in sight, no chill in his body. That right side Phoenix could even be looked at. Scream's low, but the rest of the Dragons are not faltering.
I mean, look at where the other 3 of the Titans are. They're split pushing a tier 2 in the left side. Is that worth it? Absolutely not. When you lose a Phoenix off the tail end of it, the Jade Dragons, in what feels like one fell swoop, a double kill in left side after the Gold Fury had gone down for the Tartarus Titans, then immediately goes over to the right, finds fire, finds 2 picks. The Jade Dragons, they are playing lights out this weekend with their brand new jungler.
I mean, I'm not going to say that the Jade Dragons as a whole are not playing fantastic, but this is all off the back of 2 solo kills from PandaCat. I mean, CycloneSpin has not been able to exist in this game thus far. It's just been 2 kills into objectives into what happened? How are we down? What happened to Fire Giants down? I mean, that's just the Tartarus Titans mindset at the moment, off the back of PandaCat having so much pressure, spam taunting around the map, letting everyone know that he's not afraid. I mean, he's 4-0. Both of those relics have been standing tall throughout this whole game. Someone's going to have to stop PandaCat, and unfortunately for the Tartarus Titans, it's looking like Layers or no one, and Layers still need some itemization to be able to fight into a Hou Yi like this.
I mean, at this point, for the Tartarus Titans, we're looking at Phoenix defenses. It's only 2 Phoenixes that they can really defend. fineokay gets a blink on a CycloneSpin. fineokay might just be able to solo this Chernabog out, unless Cyclone decides to turn tail and run from this fight. But for the Tartarus Titans, I mean, where does their defense lie on these Phoenixes?
It seems like the left side bird, you do have a trebuchet on your side. That's got to be where the defense does lie. But again, I've already highlighted it. Someone has to deal with PandaCat. He has the Odysseus bow. He's got the kin size. His damage is going to be flying. You group up, the AoE is going to be going as well. It's just not going to be good. When PandaCat's feeling himself like this, someone has to get to that ADC. Someone has to get to the back line. And the worst part is, even if you do, PBM's there with a cooldown meditation and a Scarab's Blessing, so it is not going to be easy.
For now, it will not be a push on the left Phoenix. It'll be towards the mid-tier 2, and with an Emperor's Armor picked up by fineokay, that one's not going to do very much damage or take very long for the Jade Dragons to knock down. CycloneSpin in the left lane will now have to make his way back to pull in onto PBM. Aror will throw out the wall, gets the Phantom Shell out. fineokay is under the Phoenix by himself and is being CC'd to all hell. But PBM will make sure to pull him out of the pits of Hades with that Scarab's Blessing. Up in the sky, CycloneSpin. And back on the ground, CycloneSpin will not elect to dive in against 5. fineokay going to go back to base, teleport back up though.
Yeah, all you got left is Layers ultimate, whereas the Jade Dragons were able to pop that meditation and now begin the second siege for this Phoenix.
Scream goes in, finds the slow on 2. And this Phoenix at half HP, but so is PBM. fineokay keeping Layers out, almost picking off the Lancelot. Instead, we'll pick up Paul and slam him right back down to the ground. fineokay, the front line of the Jade Dragons, keeps the Titans pushed back for a second Phoenix to go down.
Yeah, the Jade Dragons are able to grab 2 birds and back off with that Fire Giant. About 3 seconds, and now finally the Fire Giant buff has fallen off. So the Tartarus Titans have survived that siege, but not looking the greatest. When you got 2 birds down like this, you're not in a favorable position. You were able to get the Aegis off of PandaCat. That is something I was keeping my eye on, those relics. Who's getting to PandaCat? He did have to Aegis. He still has the beads at table at this next Fire Giant fight, which is going to be where the Tartarus Titans have to go big or go home in that sense. They do have the option to send CycloneSpin over to that left side lane, split push a bit, and then ult into the fire, but the Jade Dragons, they've seen this play 100 times. They can just full-on commit to this Fire Giant and then run down the base at that point. Right side bird is spawning in here shortly, so there's a bit of time before the Jade Dragons really have to start worrying about all of their Phoenixes being down and the Titan damage starting to stick, things like that. I'm looking at the itemization, and the only real option here is to play through Paul. The Sanctified Field is the best ultimate you have. It's the best tool that this team has. CycloneSpin does have a fair bit of penetration online, finally finishing up that Silver Branch bow, so he's going to be doing some real damage as well. But just as I suspected, the Jade Dragons are already on this Fire Giant, and they're just going to shred it down.
As soon as that thing crashes down,
they're gonna
never mind. They're gonna stare at it. They're gonna look at it menacingly. I was like, yeah, as soon as it crashes, they'll start it up, and then they wanted to take a moment. Now we'll get going. Or maybe just try and find a pick onto SOT. Half HP already. Aror caught by the Golden Apple, knocked up by fineokay. And the wall will keep fineokay in with the Tartarus Titans, but Aror and SOT both have to go back to base. SOT fortunate enough to be able to teleport back to the ward. But the Jade Dragons have already gone right back to the Fire Giant, and does not seem like a single member of the Titans will step up now. That one will go to the Jade Dragons. Had to make sure that laser beam from SOT didn't steal away. Fire Giant on all 5 of the Dragons.
Yeah, that's a massive tool down for the team fight, but I think always worth to go for. If the Tartarus Titans are able to steal that one away, they can probably stall out the game a little bit longer. The Jade Dragons, however, are already up at this right side Phoenix. It already died once, so it's extremely weak, while Fire Minions are pushing down mid as well.
Fire Minions there. Scream will wrap around. Phoenix low from going down previously. Shouldn't take too long for the Dragons to remove that one from the map, but they're not going to commit too many just yet. I mean, we're 24 minutes in with our second Fire Giant buff at this point of the game. The Jade Dragon's going to play patiently. PBM will walk in to soak up the tower. Double pull in by SOT, but not much more to be had in this fight. Right side Phoenix goes down. Only one Phoenix left, but the Jade Dragons will all back away into the jungle instead and maybe just go for a full reset, it seems.
Yeah, I honestly thought the left side Phoenix could be on the table, but Oni Fury will be spawning in shortly, and the Jade Dragons, they don't have a 10k gold lead yet, and that's usually when you're feeling pretty happy about going for a play like that. Once that gold lead climbs up to 10k, that's when you're like, okay, now we're chilling, we can make a reckless play, like just running over. But it looks like, okay, I was gonna say, fineokay did get rotated on, but has so much movement, and actually the Tartarus Titans are gonna pull this Oni Fury right off respawn. Unless fineokay can do something, it's going down.
He got to get a miracle steal, but he will not get it this time around. Oni Fury taken by the Tartarus Titans off a quick grouping in that left side jungle. PandaCat is here, and so is fineokay as he dashes even further and continues to close that gap against the Titans. He's just buying his time for the rest of the team to show up. 3 members already in the left lane, and the other 2 on their way from base alongside a Trebuchet in that left lane.
Yeah, but fineokay is once again going to channel the ult back and possibly teleport in if that is the play that the team wants to go for. We see Pegon and Scream also pushing up mid because that Phoenix has just spawned in. But off the back of some Oni minions and that left side Trebuchet, the Tartarus Titans have bought themselves some time to just breathe easy. That siege isn't coming just yet. Think about your game plan, which I imagine will be drop all your ults and pray, because that's the best option you have with a team comp like this. Paul versus 2 in the mid lane.
Remember, the Jade Dragons, they find a 2-0, could pose some big tiebreaker implications. Tartarus Titans need just 1 game, and what a swing turnaround it would be if they can find a game 1 in the position that they're in. And it's going to be a hard ask for them to get that one, especially with Paul so low. Sanctified Field used, and so is fineokay's ultimate. Layers will beads to get away from it. Meanwhile, the rest of the Jade Dragons are knocking on the door. The left Phoenix, Layers, ults in, jumps off the horse, and is now at least fighting back against Scream. He and fineokay are now on the back foot for the Dragons, and not much pressure put on this left side Phoenix. Charlie, this 3-2 split has not worked out in favor of the Dragons.
Yeah, but finally it looks like the rest of the Dragons will group up with that meditation from Mike, and with the Trebuchet, this left side bird should at least fall down for free. That was a great 2v2 in mid. I think Paul and Layers certainly got the better of it, but in a situation like this where your base is already broken, a Trebuchet is coming in, and you got to worry about fire minions on right, it's so difficult to keep all of these birds standing, and now the mid one is going to be under fire.
CycloneSpin not going to be a part of this fight as he's dealing with that Trebuchet that pushed in. Dive bomb out of PandaCat gets him away from the fight. Meanwhile, fineokay and Scream once again on the opposite side of where they probably need to be. Pulling onto PBM, will grab him, but PBM will get the revive on himself. Phoenix still stands not for much longer. Scream goes down. Layers finds 1 pick, but PandaCat turns it around and grabs the support, making a double kill for PandaCat. It's now 4 of the Dragons push in towards the Titan, but SOT, with a lot of CC, with a lot of lockdown, is not quite enough. The Jade Dragons will take game number 1 over the Titans.
6 out of 8 of those kills off the back of PandaCat, and only 2 of them were solo kills. The rest were accompanied by the rest of the team. But again, the impact that this Hou-Yi had for the Dragons team cannot be understated. This was not that aggressive of a game. I mean, to have 2 solo kills and then rotate in, you get a Gold Fury off one, a Fire Giant off the other. I mean, that's absurd. That is a lot of pressure coming from just one player on your team. Not to discredit the rest of the squad. Obviously, PBM had some clutch revives. The meditation was keeping the team just well and sustained. It just made for easy team fights.
I'm just saying, man, I don't think I want to be giving PBM a Kepri anytime soon, because the number of times that he has saved his teammates this game, and the number of pop-offs that PandaCat on this Hou-Yi. Back to the drawing board for game number 2 goes to Tartarus Titans. Jade Dragons take game 1, and we'll come back for game 2 right after.
Well, the Dragons continue their win onslaught this weekend. They put 5 on the board, 5 in a row, and now are standing 1-0 up against the Titans. Scoremizer, I got Mifflin here with me again. And Mifflin, again, this is where things are getting, I want to say, a little spicy, mainly because Dragons now 1 game a win from just being able to jump up, be 3rd place, which is what their goal was yesterday, and they're trying to realize it right now. But also, I mean, they come into this, again, maybe a little scrappy at first, a couple of fights going back and forth between these two teams, but really the pickup and the pace and the Capri really caused,
It's the Capri.
I think, a lot of trouble over there for the Titans, and I think that they're just playing impeccably right now.
Yeah, the Jade Dragons have certainly found themselves a pick that is just going to continue to work, man. Mike on this Capri has just been a different beast. I will say that this is not the standard Jade Dragons win condition that we had seen for the entirety of this week. This one a bit more scrappy, but standard in that the Jade Dragons in those scrappy scenarios are willing to coin toss their match in situations exactly like this. 17 minutes into the game, 17 and a half minutes in the game, 2,000 gold up. Yeah, all right, let's coin toss a Fire Giant, right, with the Tartarus Titans right nearby. Fortunately for the Jade Dragons, it goes their way, and from there, Jade Dragons with the lead do what the Jade Dragons do, and it's run you down everywhere across the map. Takes them a little while, but they are eventually able to close it out from there. Just clean team fight, clean presence. Of course, we had already talked about Mike and the safety net that he afforded his team. fineokay continues to impress on the King Arthur. I think if I'm in the Tartarus Titans in this situation, 2 picks come to my mind. Sure, solo kill, cool. Hoagie's not one of the bands I'm thinking of. King Arthur and Kepri probably need to be addressed.
Yeah, that's the weird balance. I mean, this King Arthur, look, 5 games in a row, 5 wins for fineokay. Only 1-1 in 5 here, which maybe seems lackluster considering PandaCat goes 6-0-1. Holy smokes. I knew he was doing well. I guess I didn't look down at the bottom. Like, I was like, yeah, he got a solo kill, and he got his double kills, and he got a couple other kills around the Fire Giant. Like, well, that's fine. Like, that's only going to add up to, like, 3 or whatever. No, 6, as it turns out. 23K there. But 16,000 coming from the King Arthur. It matches just about what Paul was able to output on that Ola run. So it feels like maybe a shift up, like you said, in some of the bans. Cupid, Pele, Naja. Look, man, in what world Pele and Naja are getting banned 2 games in a row is one where only Scream can make it work.
I'm thinking we could let Naja through.
Probably, right? Like, you could like, chill on letting the
You might be able to let Pele through too.
Honestly,
as well.
you could, and I mean, maybe save him for the second ban. I'm going back to look at it. Like, Pele yesterday was picked up in their top 3, but otherwise they've waited for the jungle pick into the bottom 2 this week. So maybe that's something they could try to play around with here in picks and bans. It's something that the Titans are going to have to address, though, because otherwise 2-0, and they lose their spot. And that is a big deal for the Dragons. Again, I mean, Mifflin, this is a team, we were talking about it, like, it was like a 6th place-ish, maybe 5th going into this week. I mean, they were not super comfortable over the last few weeks in terms of their positioning.
Yeah, they weren't. And I suppose the Jade Dragons can feel confident about the changes they had made,
Yes.
right? Like being able to jump this many seeds as quickly as they have, finding as consistent a performance as they have as well, I think could justify some roster swaps. And so far, justified is just correct. I mean,
Yeah.
up against the Tartarus Titans, even just starting off this set with a win, so impressive considering how new Scream is to this roster. The Jade Dragons looking like, well, the Jade Dragons of old, just this aggressive team that is active on the map, and when they're able to play their style, it just works.
We'll see here what the Titans can do to try and deal with this. Again, after a 2-0 earlier this week over the Bolts, they don't want to end their phase on a 2-0 loss here towards the Dragons, but we'll figure out whether that's going to happen. Mainly see how they adjust to it if any of these bans conversations we've been having takes place in game number 2. Once again, first pick. Once again, Cupid first ban.
Makes sense.
So the Titans, yeah, immediately they're like, all right, well, we know at least what we don't want to deal with at first. This was Pele last time, though, so we'll watch very closely as to whether or not they keep things going that way. This is where things can get really complicated, though. Again, going into Masters, seeding, things like that definitely feel like they're maybe weighing on your shoulders, how it's going to affect you. A lot of games in Masters, man. I mean, we were talking about it on the schedule. There's 20 sets in this first week that we're going to be going up. 5 days, 4 best-of-3s a day. It's a lot of SMITE going over that. And then you'll take a little break for a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, before we can crown, well, I guess the king. I don't know, the champion. There's the word for masters.
Maybe they're just the master.
Maybe they're just the master of masters. The
That's
master
right.
of SMITE, as it turns out. Either way, that one's going to be a fun event. The Summer Masters. It's going to be starting on Wednesday at 11 a.m., so you make sure you tune in
The
then.
light dims.
For now, though, appreciate watching end, see how the phase ends. Eset Kepri and the Morrigan, and the Pele got replaced with a Nemesis on the side of the Titans.
I don't think we're going to see the Pele locked in just here for the Jade Dragons. Maybe like Yamoja, King Arthur. Seems like a pretty good answer for them. Picks that have
Those are
both been
pretty
serving them
good
pretty
gods,
well,
huh?
right? Chernobog for the Tartarus Titans, certainly a good pick for themselves. CycloneSpin very adept at playing that god, barring that singular solo kill from Game 1. I am surprised to see that the Jade Dragons have decided to ban out the Kepri themselves. I suppose saying, hey, if it gets through, the Tartarus Titans will likely take it first overall. Chernobog, not exactly one of the gods that I associate with PandaCat, so maybe not a worthwhile
Excalibur!
trade for them.
Strike!
King Arthur, first lock-in for the Jade Dragons.
6 games, baby.
6 games in a row. Look, fineokay might not like doing it, but we like seeing it because it works out pretty consistently. But not the Yamoja. Discordia taken very early in this draft. You're boosting your King Arthur. That's just going to be the blanket statement. He's going to have that passive for the entirety of the early game. You've got some pretty decent survivability from Discordia. That cripple going to be pretty strong up against Lancelot and Chernobog already. But concerned about taking it this early in the draft will allow the Tartarus Titans to counterpick at least a little bit. Cabrakan, pretty strong in a disco.
Also, and this is just now clicking, was that the first King Arthur versus Lancelot that we've gotten since Lancelot was allowed? Yeah, or no, it's the second. Never mind. They played it yesterday.
You're talking about the lore matchup, huh?
Yeah, I want the lore matchup, man. And it makes sense because so far both times Lancelot has lost that. I mean, he's the king of the round table. Lancelot's just a knight of the round table.
I'm pretty sure I wrote my thesis on this. I used to know. So like Lancelot's the Green Knight. I know he like totally owns King Arthur. like
yeah, I think it was, like in
Arthur's-
like 1v1s he was like supposed to be the best, right?
he's like,
Which I guess is called jousting in
I don't remember if he actually killed King Arthur, but I know for a fact King Arthur does not like
he
Lancelot.
was definitely with King Arthur's wife.
Yeah, I didn't know how to word that on the desk
I was trying to figure out
diplomatically.
the right way to
so
do that
I was
as
just
well.
gonna let it go.
Nah, he.
I'm glad you hit that note.
Yeah, they were not in a faithful relationship, is what the way I'll say it.
At the time, King Arthur was like perceived dead. You know what I mean?
Weren't there like there was some overlap though when he was like definitely not.
Well, yeah, but well, it's like a Walking Dead situation. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Grimes' wife was with, I don't know, the dude who plays the Punisher for a little while there. I'm lost, man.
Frank
Let's-
Castle
can
is the name
extinguish
of the
my
Punisher.
flame.
I don't know the name of the actor.
Do you know the name of the guy from the Walking Dead?
No.
Yeah, me either. Fans at home know. They know what I'm talking about.
We've gotten really deep into pop culture, but with just
Turns
enough
out we're not.
unknowledge.
We don't know anything about it.
Like we can reference
Beware
it
the
very
heavens.
heavily, but now we don't know enough. I actually, and you know what? I don't know if this will get me flack. I don't watch The Walking Dead.
That would get you fired?
No,
you said?
flack.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like,
If it got me fired, I don't think Hindus watch The Walking Dead. Go yell at him.
okay. You'd have to throw him under the bus.
Oh yeah, I did.
All right, talk about the picks
All
so I
right,
can break
well,
them
hey,
down.
the bans, Hell Yamoja, banned out by the Dragons. They picked up the Ymir in that third slot. And then the other side, it's the Ho Yi and the Wooler. Now, here's what's wild to think about. This is the exact same draft from the Tartarus Titans. Something that we don't get to see too often, but it's the exact same 5. Chernobog, Lancelot, Cabrakan, Oleron, and Atlas. And it's in the exact same order as well. A couple of bands changed up, though, so it'll be one of those rarities. Mifflin, very, 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 very rarely do we see the same 10 gods in a matchup twice in a row. And to the point where I believe it's only ever happened 3 times, if I remember
the
correctly.
true salty runbacks.
Yeah, so those are very rare. We get the Pele. We get a new hunter here. We get a Rom pickup here for PandaCat.
Yeah, I'm not certain that I love Rom into this matchup. Going up into the air to buy time, pretty cool until you land into a dilated time field or you land into a Cabrakan wall. So Rom will have to choose his ultimate spots very, very carefully. Otherwise, I think having lost the Capri and replaced it with Ymir, you've got phenomenal matchups into the Tartarus Titans composition. Lancelot, Cabrakan, Oleron, Atlas all really don't have great ways to deal with that wall. Even Chernobog, to a certain extent, will really have to just dedicate that ultimate if he wants to evade it. So, aggressive should be the name of the game for the Jade Dragons support, getting active on the map early on, really slowing down every single individual piece of the Tartarus Titans. But the Tartarus Titans composition, what's true of it last time is true again by nature of it being the exact same. Very, very good dive potential, highly aggressive, can steamroll the early game. What had slowed them down in game 1 were those Khepri ultimates.
Yeah.
A lot of those picks lost. Khepri ultimate's not on the board anymore. So I think this is a match that could be dictated by the early from both of these drafts. If the Jade Dragons pull ahead, I imagine they hold that lead. If the Tartarus Titans pull ahead, I imagine they hold that lead. So this could be very volatile for the first 10 or so minutes.
I've got good news for King Arthur. He's really solid in the first 10 minutes. That should feel really good for him. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, the Titans are going for something that's a bit of a playback. I mean, you kind of called it, but even going into it, it was, what, 2,000 gold separating those teams at that Fire Giant fight we watched for the replays. Kind of a 50-50 overall, and the Dragons just happened to get that and get a really sick res and get a really good fight and beat the Titans from that point forward. That's where they get a lot of their lead. Going into that, though, Titans had been doing just fine. They seem to think so as well because they're going right back to it. And it makes things very interesting here. Ymir, Pele, and Rom will join the battle for the Dragons. Mifflin, real fast, which side are you feeling a little more? The Dragons have the 2-0. Can they get third place?
They absolutely can. But every time I see these unorthodox picks from Scream in the jungle, it really comes down to execution on field. This feels like, to me, if this game were to go even into the late game, let's say that, both teams very volatile in the early, neither one really wants to step up. Even state, 30 minutes in, I favor the Tartarus Titans. But how often are the Jade Dragons allowing these games to go even?
Exactly. I've seen this Pele. I've seen what Scream can do with it. He's all over the damn place, and I expect we're going to see that here. We're going to go down, though, now to J-Mac and Trelly, see if it happens in game number 2.
Thank you so much, Gore and Miff, and we can see why we got straight to the action. Are we going to see a full 10-man brawl at the mid lane? Pre-minion spawn? Does not seem so. The Jade Dragons not willing to buy it. J-Mac, Trelly, and Doug one more time in game number 2. And Trelly, I just hope that one day we get to see that. Like we had it one time where it panned in like right as the kill was happening in mid lane. It was like a pre-35 or pre-15 seconds, something like that was the first blood. But we're just not going to see that again. Maybe we are. I can't tell anymore. They're just confusing me.
I mean, the thing is, for a full 10-man like 5v5 fight, both teams have to look at their squad and say, "Yeah, we win this," and then feel confident going in. And I just don't imagine any team, looks at their level 1 and quickly irons out all the pros and cons, then decides at the same time both of them are like, "Yeah, we win this," and they both go in. It's just not one of those situations that happens too often. However, another situation that doesn't happen too often is the Tartarus Titans doing the full run back here. One change I see immediately is that the fact that Paul got beats this time. He went shell first. I think it helped him out sometimes and also hurt him sometimes as well. He's got a little bit more survivability here. He's not up against that Nemesis. He's up against a Pele this time around, and he realized, hey, CC could be a problem, and I don't want to just get shell as Aror. Damage could be some problem because he's starting a little bit of a damage start here, going for the Pythags piece into the Sovereignty once again, which means that he can do a little bit more damage, but also he's going to take a little bit more. He's going to be a little bit less tanky in that regard.
He's definitely taking a lot. Wall from PBM, good, but doesn't last very long at only rank number 1. So for now, Aror will be fine. Not a whole lot of follow-up as far as Aram is concerned. He is all auto attacks until that ultimate comes online. And those auto attacks aren't hitting super hard this early on in the game, even with the fact that Aror didn't start with a defensive item. So one of the things that the desk was kind of bringing up was the early game potential for both these teams to get that lead and kind of get a little bit out of control. Is there one that maybe you put a little bit more favoritism towards early on, Trelly?
I mean, looking at the matchup, I do think that Scream wants to, look over towards the duo lane and get active as much as possible, which means, in theory, I'm siding with the Jade Dragons, but I think just because Scream is trying to get active does not mean that they have the better early. I'm really just looking at the Ymir. PBM should be able to create some waves wherever he goes. That freeze is going to be such a potent engage tool on any of these targets without beads, being Layers or Aror. More specifically Aror. I think if you're fighting over in the duo lane, you're looking to kill this Kabrakan and try and set up, once again, for PandaCat to just hard carry the game away. Rama's not a pick that you whip out when you're feeling shaky on your snipes. With the bounces on point, I'm feeling he's probably feeling pretty confident, wanting to take, once again, these 1v1 trades with CycloneSpin on this Chernobog. Not a great 1v1 character. You're not going to find too much opportunity to get a kill unless, of course, you know, PandaCat gets a little bit over-aggressive, lets Cyclone back, and then he can ult back in with all of his cooldowns and chase him down the lane.
For now, pressure in the dual lane does go towards the Jade Dragons, having the Ymir and the Rom, both of them able to get some quick damage against the entirety of that wave. And it kind of looking across the board for the jungler. Scream takes over to level 4 just now, just slightly behind Layers, so as far as the XP is concerned in the jungle, pretty even to say the least, but the gold, about 500 up for the Jade Dragons. Where does this 500 extra gold come from?
I mean, it's got to just be from the way of the dual lane clearing a little bit more effectively, so, some invades here and there, just quicker farming, better confirm. Obviously, SOT doesn't have the best clear up against a character like fineokay, so that's going to mean some of his last hits are going down by the wayside. We see about a 200 gold lead in solo lane just off of King Arthur alone, so I do expect to see fineokay continue that aggression just by the nature of out-clearing SOT. And remember, if you're not getting last hits on every single minion, you're just going to be losing a little bit of gold, and that starts to add up, and I think that's where this gold is starting to come from. But as we see some more aggression, things like this, where fineokay says, I don't even care about the wave, I am going to bully you because I'm trying to get aggressive and look for kills, I imagine that'll sort of continue.
Layers does spot out Scream walking into the jungle. We'll throw the knockback, but the Jade Dragons will immediately go back to farming up this jungle. Oracle Harpies will go the way of the Chaos side team. And now the level 5s have been hit. 4 Layers in Scream. Gotta wonder where their first target is gonna be. Neither of them have their first item online. Last time around for Layers, it was Crusher, as opposed to something like a Jotun's Wrath. Scream only sitting on that tier 1 mace. You imagine they'll go back to base and get their item before they try and make their mark in one of these lanes, Strelly?
Yeah, it should be the optimal call, right? You want to make sure you have as much damage as possible when you are going for an early gank, but if someone just steps up, you know, and you can get a kill, you just go for the kill. You know, you don't go, oh, I really wish I had tier 2 mace before I went for this opportunity. If the opportunity presents itself, you're blinking in, pressing forward, and just going. But given the fact that everyone's about that halfway point, no one's really too far out of position, and both junglers are sitting around that mid lane 2v2. And it looks like actually the supports are rotating in, so it will be a 3v3 at this point. Yeah, I think backing up, getting some itemization online before a real fight is certainly the optimal play. But if you look at the itemization, once again, fineokay and PBM going for that Mail of Renewal start, trying to get some more HP 5 and regen on the team. You know, the Tartarus Titans have already faced against this style of build once. You'd think they're going to prioritize some anti-heal as it goes on.
PBM finds a wall and stun against Paul, but with Layers rotating in, PBM stuck in these tremors. Will use the ultimate for some CC immunity, but he's going to go down at the end of the day. fineokay rotates in, but doesn't find a whole lot just yet. The ultimate and the damage out of Scream is good, and fineokay will find a kill, but it's a trade out, 2 for 1 for the Tartarus Titans. Snipes from the sky, not quite enough to take down CycloneSpin. PandaCat just a tad off the mark, and 2 kills in 1. As far as favor goes, Tartarus Titans started out strong.
Both of these solo laners finding time to rotate in to make sure this fight goes their team's way. I mean, great heads-up play by both of them. Obviously, fineokay is able to go in and claim the kill, and unfortunately, the Tartarus Titans are able to come out on top, but they're still not quite caught up gold lead-wise. They do have that gold, the kills in their favor, but it's going to be a little bit in favor of the Jade Dragons as this goes. And then, you know, that global presence from CycloneSpin, able to rotate in, get a free kill essentially just by showing up. You know, PandaCat tried to help out with the snipes, as you mentioned, wasn't able to hit all 3, and just not enough damage coming through from this Rama. But, you know, that's the best you can really do in a situation like that, where Cyclone just zooms over, and you're like, I can't catch up, he's just too fast. Layers, however, is going to get hamstringed in the air.
This time, Layers doesn't have the beads to get out of that one early. Freeze is good. Pull from SOT, not going to quite grab Scream in. fineokay will chase out the kill onto Layers, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Junglers both down. Pegon was the apple at Paul, but that will be the end of the fight. Another trade out, 1-for-1. Both junglers removed from the map.
Yeah, both junglers are gone, but I think Scream still getting the worst end of these trades because he's only level 6. He hasn't been able to farm as effectively as he would like. Pele really does prefer some itemization before she starts to get active like this, but you're sort of forced into it by the aggression of your team and the opposition. You know, the Tartarus Titans are not letting Scream sit back for a moment, and actually opted into buying a Chalice, so that's 300 gold, putting his build behind even further. Layers is going to have a massive just gold lead by itemization alone. And I think that trend should continue unless Scream starts to, find some kills elsewhere. He's sort of just thrown into the deep end and saying, sink or swim. You don't have that many items, but we need you to do damage, and that's sort of Scream's MO at the moment. It looks like that should be continuing if the Tartarus Titans want to keep this lead up. Kill lead, not gold lead.
Right, kill lead. Flanking by Aror, stuns Mike, throws up the wall, but Mike throws up his own wall to block out some of the damage. They'll find a double freeze off the tail end of it. It's just Mike and Scream against 4 Titans. The knockback is good against PBM in a sanctified field. Means there's nowhere for the Ymir to go. Another pick for the Tartarus Titans. And they'll make their way over to the Greater Scorpion. Could be a good steal for them and a good way to maybe finally try and bump that gold back to their favor. But even with that kill, Jade Dragons still hold a small gold lead.
Yeah, CycloneSpin flew in there, and it looks like, again, PandaCat has met the rotation as best as he can. Not going to find any sort of kill potential. That's just so many ultimates thrown into a Ymir. There's really no way that Mike ever lives there, even with a wall as clutch as that one. The placement was perfect. He was able to just sit back and stall for as long as possible. It's just this character is a little bit too immobile, not quite tanky enough to live some damage like that. But as you mentioned, the Jade Dragons are still going to try to find some aggression.
Scream finds some big damage on Paul, and Pegon finds the final swing. fineokay will slam Aror right down into his own death. Double kill for the mid laner of the Jade Dragons will even the kills back up. And the Jade Dragons, where will they put their pressure now that they've gotten that kill? Paul and Aror down for a few more seconds, but nothing really on the map besides maybe some Oracle Harpies to grab for themselves.
All right, J-Max. So I believe we were at the Green Room the other day talking about how the meta has sort of slowed down a bit, and how
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and how early kills aren't as common. People,
Right.
These teams are more so going to sit back and look for farming. I mean, this is 8 kills in 9 minutes. This has been solo laners rotating into mid. And CycloneSpin's got global presence, but PandaCat has also, both hunters have been rotating into these fights as well. This is anything but, this is just all-out aggression. They are constantly looking to fight. Even if you're behind, you're ahead, it does not matter. Both of these teams are just not pulling any punches.
I mean, when we go back to that first team fight in mid, we unofficially had a 5v5 kind of quote-unquote in the mid where all 10 players kind of stepped towards that lane. The closest that PandaCat got was
they all
the
did
mid
damage.
camp. PandaCat got to the mid camps, and that's the closest he got into the lane. We had all 10 players on the map in the mid lane at 5 minutes. That is unheard of in the meta that we've been in, where solo laners typically sit for 15 minutes. The hunters sit for 15 minutes. These guys are getting active, and they want to get these kills because, again, bringing back up, mentions of what was going on with the desk, with the current standings. Jade Dragons, if they can find the 2-0, can potentially be forcing a tiebreaker matchup against the Titans. And remember, the Dragons were 5th or 6th seed coming into this weekend, and they're now about to potentially take 3rd seed away in one weekend sweep.
Yeah, that would be absolutely massive for them, and just great heads-up play by the Dragons. Again, the Tartarus Titans were able to pick Mike. They used so many ultimates to do so. And then immediately the Jade Dragons are like, wait, we can definitely kill Paul. He's got no sanctified fields. We can force out those beats. We have the damage to do that. And that's why we're seeing so much aggression, because it's just back and forth aggression. Once all these ultimates are down, the other team can pull. And it looks like the Jade Dragons, followed by Scream, are going towards that Pyromancer. And unless the Titans can show some face, it might be going down.
Gotta be quick. But the Titans do show up. Aror will break down the wall that he put up, but he can't stop that wall. PBM locks away a few members from his team, but he's the one who gets caught out. The Golden Apple doesn't grab anybody. The Tartarus Titans find one clean pick, and they'll now be the ones to start at the Pyromancer, unless fineokay can steal it away here, but he cannot. He gets picked up, and he'll go up into the sky with SOT, but Layers is the one who steps too far forward. Scream finds the pick. Ultimate from SOT just off the mark. Scream fighting back in, but he gets picked up by SOT again and thrown right to CycloneSpin. fineokay finds a 4-man stun, but that 4-man is not enough because CycloneSpin is the 1-man to find the double.
Yeah, you might notice, though, the Jade Dragons are still up in gold. That's because PandaCat never left. He decided to push down that left side tower. It looked like he might have been going for tier 2, then realized, I'm a level 12 Rama, man. I don't hit the tower very hard. There's not too much gold that I can get for my team at this moment. But CycloneSpin, he's been doing something as well, J-Mac, and he's been flying in across the map and been getting a lot of kills. He is 4-0 on this Chernobog, essentially flying in. His damage numbers are pretty high. They're not massive, but he's been able to fly in at these key moments, making his presence known, and he's been getting the benefits of that. The gold has let him go for the kin size, and even more itemization, whereas PandaCat has been sitting in lane, has the Aussie, but he's just going to be a little bit behind damage-wise until he's able to actually rotate into these fights by foot and help out his team.
SOT has just been so clutch on these gravity pulls. It feels like every time in this game, at least, that we're looking over at him, he's got somebody in his hands. And unfortunately for the person that's in those hands, there are 2 or 3 other members of the Titans ready for whenever SOT says, all right, here you go, and just tosses them like meat to the wolves, man.
They're not nurturing hands. These are aggressive. he's not
These
saying
hands
like,
are rated E for everyone.
Yeah, he's not just coddling them saying, hey, don't worry, like, I got you. No, he's throwing them into his team.
He's throwing them into the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, that's why he's been a part of 6 of the 7 kills that you see. And the Beads relic is definitely important for all of the Jade Dragons to make sure that SOT is not going to continue setting up for kills like that. But these fights have sort of been petering out the same sort of way, right? PBM immediately gets picked, drops the Sanctified Field. He has no form of CC immunity to get out. He drops the Shard of Ice for damage, and then he dies. And then after that, some more aggression as Mike holds these mid camps.
There's a Shard of Ice and the Sanctified Field, but this time it's a rally around Paul to try and grab him. Not enough damage, but PandaCat will find the snipes to get the kill. Can they find one on Aror for the Dragons? Because Aror's low, and Pegon will grab him. 2 for 1 trade, 2 for 2 now. With Cyclone finding one of his own. fineokay will Beyblade to the back line to help out PandaCat, but he will fall as soon as he picks up the double kill. A 3 for 3 trade in the mid lane fight.
Once again, CycloneSpin flies in and gets a kill, but PandaCat is not too far behind. He also was able to help out with those snipes to confirm so many low health targets. And J-Mac, remember at like 5 minutes when I said how even this game was? The gold lead has not changed. It's been in favor of the Jade Dragons the whole time. The kill is still in favor of the Tartarus Titans, but they've just been trading back and forth, blow for blow. And I don't imagine it's going to stop anytime soon. Neither one of these teams want to let up the aggression. What you really start to notice, however, is the XP differences. Pegon 3-0 on this Discordia. He's level 14. Paul just ticks over to level 12. That's never fun. The XP lead in the duo lane is starting to go a little bit in favor of CycloneSpin because of these last hits, because of these rotations in where he's not missing any of the participation from these kills. So a 2-level lead there at the moment. I imagine PandaCat probably pretty close to 15. So we'll call it, yeah, 1-level lead there. And the solo lane, the jungle, and the supports pretty much even. So really the disparity being CycloneSpin's a little bit ahead, but also Pegon's a little bit ahead. Finally, though, Paul's able to pick up a second relic, some survivability. He's been getting bursted down time and time again. He puts down the Sanctified Field and does good damage, but he just can't survive these fights. He's not living to see the objective after the fact.
Tartarus Titans are just grouping up fantastically throughout this entire game. I mean, the good thing is the math is easy for me to do. Lowest player on the team has 80% kill participation for the Tartarus Titans. Meanwhile, Jade Dragons, PBM walks up, loses bubble right away, and ults in the middle of 4. Will it grab anything? Yes, maybe a kill onto SOT. PandaCat was waiting for him, stops the dash, but Cyclone gets a kill onto Scream. 1 for 1, already out the gate. fineokay spinning around with Aror, jukes out. The stun with a wall from PBM, and a wall from Aror will cut off 2 different paths, but a stun does land onto the bracket. 1 more hit, and it's PandaCat to grab it. Double kill for the Hunter of the Dragons.
Finally, someone has got the better end of a fight, and it's the Jade Dragons. fineokay blinking it on the layers while Rama rains down the snipes from above. Not going to be enough to confirm that the Gold Fury, that's the real prize the Jade Dragons are after.
PandaCat will start that one up. Jade Dragons will zone away Cyclone and Paul. No chance for them to get in this fight. No Sanctified Field, no Living Nightmare available, which means a free Gold Fury to the Jade Dragons. A double for the Hunter, who has been doing everything in his power to try and match the rotation of a literal global Hunter comparatively. I mean, it's like a JoJo's point. It's like this, your next move is you're going to rotate here, so I'm going to go ahead and just head there now. Next thing you know, hey, Cyclone's there. I'm already ready to go.
I thought PandaCat got, beads, and then at level 12 got the teleport because he has just been able to match that pressure. Obviously he did. I saw you double take. You're like, wait, did he actually do it?
Hold on a second. He did get beads. I see that.
No, I ran the numbers. He still has Aegis, but the amount of mobility that he's been able to have, just an on-fire set for PandaCat particularly, but the Jade Dragons do have about a 3K gold lead, and Mike has been the form of focus for the Titans, but he's been able to confirm so much CC. The walls have been displacing the Tartarus Titans so effectively And still, even though he's dying, even though he's 0-4, he's been making his presence known. Walls like that, for example.
It's going to keep SOT and Aror, force them to separate. Pegon. A lot of damage from the Golden Apple. I forgot just how hard that this Discordia can hit sometimes. So that opens up the Pyromancer for the Jade Dragons. They'll grab that.
Oh, they're doing it.
And a start of the Fire Giant. Cyclone isn't anywhere near. Ultimate is online. He could go in the sky and let his team know this is happening, or the team of his own could just walk up and see it with their own 2 eyes.
No,
Aror and Layers walks in, but that's just enough for the Jade Dragons to get off the fire.
Okay, I was going to say, well, once Aror walked up and they all turned on him, that had to be the end of the fight. CycloneSpin didn't even channel the ult. He's still in that left lane. I was going to say, the Jade Dragons really went for the repull there. It wouldn't have been the easiest objective to try and go for. Of course, it's actually the hardest objective to try and go for. But after you've put all of your DPS into something this early on, 18 minutes in, stopped trying to chase down a kill, then went back to it, I think that would have been a dangerous call to make. And the Jade Dragons agree, and they're fine with just backing up here. Notably, CycloneSpin was able to continuously push, so his build is actually looking extremely solid at the moment. Has the Odysseus bow online for that AoE damage, finished that Silver Branch, and has the kin size available. So I do expect to see CycloneSpin ult to the back of these fights and just start spreading damage with how much AoE he will have built into the kit already. It just really depends on when he decides to make himself known in these fights. He's been ulting in sort of after the fight starts, but he always could just, you know, dash in and try and find someone whenever they're out farming by themselves. The opportunity is always there because he's level 19, the most farm on the map by far.
And it's weird to say that this is the most significant lead of the game that we have had so far, Trelly, for the Dragons. 3,000 gold. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, you know, 19 minutes in the game, but considering we've been going back and forth all the way up until this point between like 500 to maybe 1,000 gold at most, this is the first time we're able to see the Dragons really kind of pull a lead. One of the biggest of those leads is in that mid lane. Paul now 3 levels behind Pegon. Sure, Paul's got 3 rings online, but Pegon is a full item up over him. Obsidian Shard picked up for the mid laner. Charlie, it's looking dangerous for the Tartarus Titans. What's their avenue back in as this Fire Giant gets teased once again by the Dragons?
Scream is actually pushing over in that left lane. He's the one that needs the farm more than anyone. Sitting at level 16, you'd love if your jungle could match the rest of your carries in XP, but it's just been sort of going in and dying. 1 in 5 is the Pele, not for a lack of getting active. Scream is going in consistently, but the rest of his team has been able to confirm these kills while he sort of just goes in with some CC. And I just realized Pegon's been bullying. He's got his own passive, and he's not letting it go. Usually when you pick the Discordia, you'd think, fine, okay, on this King Arthur is going to use that benefit, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Pegon's going to hold on to it as we see the Fire Giant pulled out.
SOT and Aror here. How far in can they get? Pickup not good onto fineokay. Instead, fineokay will pick up SOT, but no follow-up. Instead, it's a wall onto Aror. Quarter of his HP already gone in the Gamma Ray Burst. This time on top of PandaCat, who has to go up into the sky, but he cannot get there. Layers picks up the first kill, and Scream goes to the back line to try and find one. Pegon makes it a 1-1 trade. fineokay picks up CycloneSpin, but as soon as fineokay lands back down, he is bursted away. 2 down on both sides. And Scream lurking around the backside of the 5. PBM throws up a wall, but gets yanked right back in. Cyclone picks up the double, but Scream picks up a double of his own.
And once again, the trades back and forth are going to net absolutely nothing in the sense of this Fire Giant. However, that started with a Fire Giant pulled by the Jade Dragons. They were trying to bait. They wanted any little avenue back into just going for a pick before that Fire Giant pull starts. CycloneSpin holds his ult until the very last second before he finally joins the fight, and is now sitting at 8-0. He's got Death's Embrace already, hits level 20 before anyone else. PandaCat, unfortunately, would have loved to get up into the sky and stall out that fight a little bit longer. If he could have got some of those snipes down and stalled in the air, that fight could have went a little differently, but not going to be the case. And that Oni Fury, unless CycloneSpin gets over here, actually, he might be able to get some kills.
I think he can get a double. Oni Fury low. Jade Dragons get it. Cyclone a little hesitant to jump into the Fury pit even against 2 low HP targets. Fury will go over to the Jade Dragons. Gold lead hasn't pushed very far up, especially the fact that we had a 3-for-3 trade earlier on, but Cyclone definitely felt like he could have gotten in there a little sooner.
Yeah, I'm realizing that we have the benefit of knowing that the rest of the Jade Dragons are on the right side of the map. Cyclone did not know, so to his point, he probably thought, hey, someone else is here. I'm not going to dash in to 3 low health targets. I think I probably would have done it anyways and could have thrown the game because, again, we didn't have that knowledge. Yeah, that's why we're here, and he's there. Smart play. He's 8-0. That would have been a massive shutdown and probably a fire giant if there were more targets. However, there wasn't. He definitely could have went in for a double kill if that was the chance.
Wall will stop SOT from getting a pickup on PBM. He's gone for the Magi Shelter second item. Hasn't had much chance to buy more items than upgrading his relics. The Pyromancer goes down to the Dragons, continue to up their gold count. Tartarus Titans are able to find these fight backs. In every single one of these last few fights, it's been a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-2. Last fight was 3-for-3. So even with this small gold lead that the Dragons have, 4,000 gold at this point, nothing super significant, the Tartarus Titans keep finding those avenues back in. And a lot of them just seems to come off the back of, hey, when fineokay grabs one person, why don't we just kill fineokay as soon as he lands?
Yeah, it certainly is a good strategy when you have the damage to back it up. And the way that this game is going, whoever falls first, CycloneSpin or Pegon, that might just be the end for the opposition because 8-0 and 4-0. Pegon's doing a little bit more damage. Cyclone's getting a little bit more kills. Fire Giant once again has been started up by the Dragons.
But a wall will catch Aror, who blinks into the Dragons. Doesn't find anything this time. SOT gonna throw out the orb, but not find anybody with it either. The Dragons will go back to the Fire Giant once again. But will the Titans step up to it this time? SOT caught by a wall. But it really just feels like the Titans are trying to break the bubbles that are on the side of the Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like PBM would love to frontline this fight, right? He wants to walk up, but he's known 5 separate times when he walks up and the freeze goes down, Paul drops Sanctified Field, and there's no more Ymir. So I think PBM is like, I want to live through this fight, I want to be able to tank, and I want to set up for you guys, but I am really scared because I don't have that much defense built. I've got the Sovereignty, the Mail of Renewal, and the Magi's, but that Oleron still shreds. I mean, Paul still has some good itemization online. The Demonic Grip and the Telekines are going to help him shred through these targets, so PBM would love to just be able to W key and set up these walls, but you got to bait out that Sanctified Field. You have to bait out some of the damage of the Tartarus Titans. So once again, the Jade Dragons are going to pull this FG, and once again, we're going to see someone walk up and try and defend.
Rewind to game 1, and this was the second Fire Giant for the Jade Dragons. Still trying to get their first one. Still trying to get anything. A freeze on SOT is a good start for the Dragons. But once again, they drop the Fire Giant. Snipes from PandaCat very early in the fight. He'll have to roll away. Maybe Aror can find something here. Does manage to catch PBM in the Sanctified Field. And Divine for CycloneSpin. 9 in a row. Maybe he can make it 10 with a dive in aggressively towards Pegon. 4 versus 5. The Tartarus Titans have the advantage moving now back towards the pit.
Yeah, it's still not going to be easy. The health bars aren't looking that fantastic. CycloneSpin is actually going to tank up this objective as fineokay is coming in and Scream is looking to wrap around.
Around the backside, Magi's available. fineokay goes in, but Scream doesn't find the knockback. Instead, Volcanic Lightning is shredding through Paul's health bar, and Scream will find the first kill of the new fight. SOT gets a pickup on one, but it may have been to his own doom. Layers versus Scream, and that one goes to Layers. One dash is all the Titans needed to put down the jungler, but fineokay has come back to the fight, but he's not going to be able to find anybody this time.
Wow, that Astrolabe stun was just enough to get SOT out of trouble, and once again, Pegon full HP at the end of one of these brawls, but the tanks of the Tartarus Titans have not left. Layers is here on the horse watching, and Pegon has every idea that he's still sticking around while Aror is sort of watching this objective go down. This could still be a coin toss here.
Fire Giant there. Ultimate from SOT already used. Layers and Aror both low. Layers is gone. Aror is gone. The Fire Giant bait by the Jade Dragons finally comes up winning for them as they take down 2 of the Titans. Fire Giant still being looked at by the Jade Dragons. It's going to take SOT and Cyclone to get in there to steal this one out. It's going to take SOT to steal this one away because Cyclone got walled out. The Jade Dragons find 3. They find the fire. And the Titans are now on the back foot.
That was close. SOT really wanted to go for the steal at that point in time. You have to all-in commit, right? You can't just let the Fire Giant go down once you're that close. You're probably dying anyways. Has to go for the toss-up play. I said it before, and I still mean it. Pegon needs to die, and CycloneSpin needs to die. Whoever dies first, it's going to spend some bad news for their team. However, Pegon seems to be doing a little bit more than CycloneSpin has been thus far. Look at the damage numbers from the Discordia. That bird is going down. Cyclone he's doing good damage as well, but he can't step up to the rest of the Jade Dragons. So that right side Phoenix goes down for absolute free, and now that tier 2 in mid should be going down as well.
For the Jade Dragons, with this Fire Giant that they have, they'll be able to at least clean out the map of towers. And a Sanctified Field by Paul to get them away from the tier 2. That's a lot expended there. Sorry about that. By the Tartarus Titans. For the Jade Dragons just to walk back in and take the tower anyways. Now no ult for Aror, no ult for Paul. This is going to be hard for the Titans to defend on the Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, this is exactly what you want if you are this Shamir. You would love that Sanctified Field to be down so you can walk in, and now BVM is going to tank this one up as the next bird starts to be looked at.
Wall zone's a little bit away. Scream goes over towards the button for the door. See if he needs to make a fast exit. The Titans have held their mid Phoenix for now. fineokay goes back to base, should be able to teleport himself right back in. He will over to the right side of the map. Alongside Scream, he'll open up the door for his jungler to come back in. Minion wave a little far behind, and Paul up in the sky, as well as PandaCat waiting for the snipes on landing. Paul jukes out the third one. The Phoenix has not taken a lot of damage, and Scream is trying to deal with CycloneSpin, almost finds him. But the mid bird goes down. The Jade Dragons, low health bars on a couple of members. SOT finds a pull onto 3 different people. Aror finds a wall on 2, but SOT is left by himself. Aror is taken down. Layers does not get a chance to use the horse as fineokay stuns him and PandaCat puts him down. The Jade Dragons in 2 games are looking to take down the Tartarus Titans and make themselves a clean 3-set, 6-game sweep with their brand new jungler in week 8. The Jade Dragons are going the distance. CycloneSpin gets one more kill, but PandaCat shuts him down at the end of the day for the Dragons to find the 2-0.
I mean, just phenomenal play from all of the Dragons, but my mind still just keeps going to the amount of CC that Pegon was able to get there. Of course, Scream going to the backline and being that sacrificial lamb for his team was massive. fineokay was able to find these huge ults, get the rest of the team so low, and was actually dealing with layers quite well, making sure that this Lancelot could not just run through the backline of his team. Mike, unfortunately, was sort of being the sacrificial lamb as well, setting up for his team and then dying. But once that one Sanctified Field dropped down, once Paul used it at the tier 2 tower, I mean, the rest of the siege just comes easy. Pegon doing twice, I think anyone's damage in the whole game. 40k, something like that. The closest was probably Cyclone doing about 20. Those are just massive damage numbers that are so hard to replicate.
I mean, it's hard whenever you're going up into Discordia to match some of the damage output of usually the frontliners, but this time it was Pegon doing a lot of the heavy lifting and the damage board across the way there. But, and again, I keep saying new jungler. It's a new jungler for the team specifically. Scream, obviously, no stranger to the SPL, no stranger to this level of play, and he and the Jade Dragons make themselves a clean 6-0 sweep this weekend. That's it for us on the Castle. Throw it to the death to break it down.
6-0 sweep this weekend. That's what's impressive to me. Again, and maybe not unexpected given Scream's tenure with PBM and PandaCat. For those of you unfamiliar, they won a world championship together a few years ago. Again, these guys are incredibly powerful. And look, Mifflin, a lot of people have been saying it this week, and especially because of this, because this game now gets them higher up in the standings, up to that 3rd place spot. And maybe it's not number 1, number 2, but considering that the Dragons for 3 years, 4 years now have felt like a first phase team, and then second phase were kind of powerful but not as powerful, and then phase 3 they could show up and again be very competitive, but when it got to Worlds, and of course I'm saying this as a team that we saw and players we saw get to the Worlds finals several times in a row, but always just a little shy of where they wanted to be. This is a powerful look to be able to come in, you make a roster change, and to have it mesh this well, perform this well. And 2-0, so some damn fine SMITE teams out there. I mean, you know, the Warriors, or sorry, the Scarabs having to you know, deal with their own roster adjustments yesterday, but the Warriors on Friday, Titans today. This is, in my mind, a very, very impressive win, and especially because this was a scrappy as hell game. I mean, they were in there with fights, but all it takes sometimes is a nice FG fight and you can get ahead.
Yeah, the difference in this one is when the Jade Dragons won the fight, they got to quote one of my progenitors, the stuff after the stuff, right? And it was about just about every single time. Whereas when the Tartarus Titans were winning their fights, they were getting like a bat camp. They were getting like maybe a red buff invade, if even that. So the Jade Dragons chose their engagement timing very, very well, even with some of these picks that are less prioritized in the most recent metas, specifically PandaCat going back towards this ROM not one that you're used to seeing in the meta right now. PBM, I think, finds himself a phenomenal counter pick, but fans at home, Gormizer is eyes locked on Pegon's damage output.
Nothing else exists on this screen.
and it might as well not, man. 40.5 thousand damage. That is impressive, man. On a Discordia at that, you're not doing that super often. In a game that fast,
I know
too.
Trelly had said he'd done twice the damage, and I know like we'd seen it and like it was there, but I don't know why. But seeing the number again, like just kind of reinstills it into me. And that's really the thing that's been fun to talk about. It is, you know, you look at it. I think fineokay had a really great week. You look at Pegon. I think this game was a good example of it. PandaCat had a phenomenal week. In fact, we even have PandaCat standing by here for the post-game interview. And that's, I kind of want to ask, I mean, admittedly, a lot of it was Cupid at first. This day, you finally had to change it up. You went for what, the Ho-Yi? You get a nice some solo kills, but a really good performance there onto the Rom. Does it feel like maybe any of these hunters are available, or do you have your own personal tier list in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that teams are picking their hunters pretty high, and they're kind of leaving the lane just to be a farm lane. So when that's the case, you can pick whatever you want and do whatever you want.
Hey, it shows that it works out, right? You were 8-2 that game.
I guess.
You were like 6-2, I think, the game before. So you're finding a lot of kills. Look, man, you guys have vibed and meshed really well with Scream to the point where, like, you know, we're talking about like new jungle, and I keep making this joke, but it's like, you know, forget about Scream because like his KDAs, like he's been everywhere. But like it feels like Pegon, fineokay, like everybody kind of popped off this weekend. Is it just that feeling reinvigorated from having a new jungle?
Yeah, I think it's a little mixture of everything. I think us individually as players, we have something to prove because we have a history with kicking our teammates, yada, yada, yada. Never looking inwards, we're the problem, all that stuff. Not saying anything about Samba. Yeah, I think you know, all of us wanted to prove that we are still a top contending team and that we can win these sets. I think we should have won a lot of sets this season that we kind of threw. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're all reinvigorated. We obviously have Scream back, so it's like the environment's really great. Everyone's like really excited, really happy to play. We're all laughing, just confident as ever, just happy to be taking games off people that we think like, you know, we should be taking games off these guys. So.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you've looked good doing it. You've now been able to, with this win, a nice 2-0, move forward into third place, which is a good spot in the standings going forward into Masters and things like that. So, you know, looking at the tournament, having the standings like that, what are your expectations for the next couple of weeks?
Winning out.
Winning out?
Everything's a win.
Anything less than a
I mean, it was a clean sweep this weekend. Why not just keep it going?
Yeah, right? 6 games in a row?
What's
like 12 more or whatever it is going to take to get to the end. There's a couple best of 5s, best of 3s.
Only ways up.
I'm excited to watch. I'm sure everyone at home, especially all the Dragons fans out there, are excited now with the reinvigorated
before I go.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I have a, you know, when I stream, I have like a viewer point redemption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what's that URL for the stream?
You know, twitch.tv/PandaCat. Use your primes on me or this MyGame channel. But my viewer point redemption is I could redeem. I could shout them out on the SPL cast.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have to shout out Zubba9 and I think Haggerty also redeemed it. So shout out to those guys.
Only those two. Okay, guys. All right.
Hey, it's
you
a lot of
viewer
points.
You go in. Yeah, it's a lot of viewer points.
So.
You can get those by watching a lot of PandaCat. Twitch.tv/PandaCat. Streaming a lot actually lately, so it's been fun to watch
every day.
And of course, he's been winning, so you're going to learn a lot from the stream, man. Thanks for coming out. Congratulations on your wins. And have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You guys too.
It's all up to Masters now. A very fun time, I think, for the upcoming Dragons fans and maybe Dragons players, although maybe a little more stressful for the players to perform. And that's where things are right now, Mifflin. I mean, it just feels like everything in the last couple of weeks has changed. The Valks are getting wins left and right all of a sudden. They're looking competitive. I mean, they looked competitive. They lost to the Titans, but they look competitive against them. And we get some wins here from the Dragons, some nice 6-0s all week. And you know what? That's what's been the kind of maybe standout for me. Last week, the SPL for Phase 2. And normally, at this point, I'm used to starting to see some silly picks. I mean, especially we've gotten into Phase 2
but these matches still matter.
Yeah, that's what's
like
insane
seeding
about it, right? When you know, you're changing seeding, of course, the Dragons taking this one as seriously as possible. And I believe now, that is the second time, if I remember correctly, they've beaten the Titans this phase, and the control over that matchup has gone their way. But nothing but 2-0s this week, which is really what's surprising me. It's a very commanding week for whichever team's going to win.
It is. I'm not sure that 2-0 record will continue. I mean, explicitly, I think the last set of today should likely go 3. The Solar Scarabs have a history of it, of course, now with Sanford Soccer, not exactly the exact same Solar Scarabs that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
The Atlantis Leviathans obviously coming into this one really wanting to find a victory. Losing to the Valhalla Valkyries cannot leave a good taste in your mouth. So I think both of those 2 teams going to be bringing a lot of heat in that 3rd set.
And I'm excited for the next one, right? Warriors going up against the Kings. Admittedly, you look at the standings, and one of these is a tied for 5th/6th and 7th matchup later in the day, the one you had highlighted, the Leviathans and Scarabs. But the other one is a tied for 5th versus 1st matchup. And really, I'm just looking at it because the Warriors, a little bit of a slump, right? Earlier this year, we were talking about them being on the rise. Not quite, I think, hitting the same stride that we're used to. The Dragons being able to jump up over the Titans there. You've got your top 3, I believe, yeah, top 4 teams that are going to exist no matter what here. So you're feeling pretty solid if you're up at the top. Kings, and you know, we mentioned this yesterday. They mentioned it on Twitter if you follow Twig, where they were like, you know what, we could just like not show up this weekend and still be first place. And then they followed up with like, but like we absolutely are still going to. And I think it's going to be fun to watch. Again, what they have to offer more so what the Warriors have to offer here. It's going to be fun. But that's it for me and Miff for now. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we get back, we've got the Kings taking on the Warriors.